Hello and welcome back. This is 1979 Volkswagen Rabbit diesel 1.5 liter. So we had some timing belt issues. We broke a timing belt. So if you watched the other video, I put a link to it for the carnage of the broken head. That was from the belt break-in. So this video is going to be about, let's get the head on, let's get the timing belt on and get it organized and set it all up. So first I would like to say thank you to all you guys for liking, subscribing, and following and commenting. You guys are always awesome. Stay awesome. Let's get going. Let's get started. So we got our head gasket came and our timing belt came. So we're set up to get the head back on and everything. So in this one, remember whenever you order your head gasket, before you order, make sure you check to see how many notches you have in there. This was a 4-notch head gasket. So you may have 2 notches, 3 notches, 4 notches, or up to 5 notches. And what that does is that defines the thickness of the gasket that'll fit on your engine. So your engine, whenever it came out of the factory, had a certain amount of thickness for the head gasket. So make sure you order the correct one when you order it. So you got the head gasket, L-ring, best brand to get. So, okay, so your timing belt broke. So we're going to be talking about how do we do whenever our engine has, we have no idea where anything is, okay? We don't know where the piston is, we don't know where the head should be and everything. So we're going to kind of talk from scratch here, okay? So we got our new head here. I got it all cleaned up. I put a few items on here, like some things, like I put the glow plugs in, and I left the nozzles out, the diesel injection nozzles. I left those out because we got to rotate the engine once we have the head on. So now this broke and the valves are all over the place, and so you don't know where to put the cam at. So let's talk about the cam. The cam itself, here, this is an extra one. On this side, you can see there's no teeth, no nothing that locate this drive pulley or whatever where your timing belt rides. Okay, you have this little notch here, but that's not, it doesn't do anything. It just rides and pinches down in here with a nut and a big washer or whatever. So it kind of sits on the end of this by friction. So this is where you get a little bit of your adjustment in your belt when you tighten it up on your engine. We'll talk about that more and later. So your cam, who knows where your cam could have been sitting when that timing belt broke. So how do you know this is in the correct position? So how you know is this is a number 1 piston here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 1 needs to be a top dead center. So how do you know? You got both of your lobes are up. See, your cam lobes are pointing upwards, and the flat part of it is touching the top of the valves down here. And that red that you see all on there is ultra slick engine lube, just so it gives you some lube on all your valves whenever you start it up. So okay, so we got top dead center here. We got our valves. They can only go one way, and you can see they actually point up a little bit, so they can only point upwards. So this lobe has to be pointing towards you when you're putting the head on, and this lobe goes away from you. So now you have it at top dead center. So how do you know if this is perfectly straight? This is a neat thing that Volkswagen did. They actually put this little slot on the end, and it's actually off center. I'll show you on the extra one. See here? See how it's off center like that? So this flat right here on this aligns with this here. And there's actually a tool that sits inside here. I'll show you later whenever we get it in there. But you can see how it lines up with this? So if that lines up straight, these 2 cam lobes are pointing up and it's flat down in the bottom, and both these valves are closed, you're at top dead center for the head. And also one thing you got to remember about the head, the engine and everything is all controlled by the timing belt. So even though this is sitting here, it could be sitting at top dead center and everything, so we're good. So anyway, so let's go back over to the engine. Alright, so now we're over at the engine. And again, these pistons were all over the place. You don't know what is top dead center. So just like the head, when I showed you the left-hand side, This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the engine doesn't care where it's sitting right now. You can see how these two pistons are up, these two pistons are down. So if you rotate this 180 degrees, so it'll be 360 degrees, I guess. This one will still be up at the top, and this one will still be at the top, and that one's even down at the bottom. So you go 180 degrees, these two are at the top, these two are at the bottom. So the engine itself doesn't have to be, what I'm saying is it rotates around, and again, the timing belt controls where everything is. So we need to get this, the top dead center, for number 1, okay? So what you do is you have a wrench over here now, and you see you can rotate it real easy. See it moving a little bit? Okay, see there? So we remember we want to get number 1 at top dead center. Okay, so what I do is I kind of move it up until I see it just crease in the top and get into the top and start poking out a little bit here. So let's go over to the flywheel side over here, and I'll show you what we need to line it up with. Remember, we're getting top dead center. So here, let me get situated here a little bit. All right, so our piston over there is up at the top. That's number 1. We know we want that up at the top, okay? So then down here, we want the flywheel here. It has a little mark on it. See that mark right here? It goes up here. I painted it whenever I took it apart. Let's see if I can't move the light a little bit. All right, see right there. All right. Let me get situated. Give me a sec here. Patience, everybody, patience. Okay, you see there's a little notch that's in the block itself. Let me move this off to the side. See that little notch right here? We want this, the flywheel here, with the white notch, to be lined up with that notch that's in the block itself, right here. Move it around. And that's looking, well, almost. There, now that is dead on. That center right there of the flywheel, this is the flywheel we're looking at, to the notch that's in the block itself. There's a little notch down underneath there, okay? So we're lined up here, so we're at top dead center. This is here. That one's up at the top. So now, before, I was just kind of getting it close to top dead center over here. And then I come over here, line that up with that notch. You could see that it was pretty close to the notch already. So I took this notch to line up with the other notch that's in the block. So now we're definitely top dead center for that number 1 piston. So now our engine block is now set and our head is now set. So let's set our diesel pump. So now we're over here at the diesel pump, and right here into the cover here, or the mount that actually holds on the pump, there's a little notch. You can see the notch inside here, not this bolt, the notch right here. So when you rotate this around, you see there on the pulley, it gets hard to turn around or whatever. So this little notch here needs to line up with this notch. So then your timing of your pump would be set at top dead center. I think I'm gonna have to, nope. All right, I'm gonna have to get something to turn that back so I get it back to this 0. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so now you see that I got the notch. What I did is I used a tool. This is an old Volkswagen type tool or whatever, or a fella makes these things, but they're it's called Vdub Metal Nerd, and you can order it from him. So you could take this, put it right into your holes on the side here, so you can move and adjust this back and forth a lot easier. It's a cool little tool, and actually I'll be showing you some more tools that you can get from that guy. So, and this is one other tool. This is a pin that you use to get your pump in position and hold and get it there. Let me see if I can get that pin in here. So what you do, you take it, stick it in here, and well, normally it doesn't come in that straight. You got to wiggle it a little bit, but see, that pin comes in here and holds this gear with this bracket, and it holds it in place. So now we come over to the mark, and you can see it's pretty much lined up there, pretty close. And this just gets us close enough because then we're going to set the timing once we get the belt on and then the head on. So now the pump's in place, we got the engine in place. So the next thing, you got the engine in place here, and we got the head in place. So let's put them together now. We'll put our head gasket on next. Valve cover is now on. It only goes on one way because this piece right here, it actually has an oil galley and coolant or whatever, or oil I think, or something that goes through here, right here. So it only goes on one way. So valve cover's on. Let's put the head on next. There you go. You don't want to press down on there for some reason. Those are those ARP studs. They're a bit of a pain in the butt, but they're good to have. Their strength. Head's on. Now it's time to put the nuts down on. So I have the bolt or the nuts torqued down in steps. You do it in 3 stages according to the repair manual. So the only thing difference is you take these up to a higher number on your ARP studs than you would with the original. So what do you got originally? Originally you would have had a bolt 11 millimeter with a Allen head on the end and a washer. So since I did the ARP studs, your car will most likely, I'd say 100%, will have the bolts on the end like this. So this one, exact same thing. You don't torque them as high as an ARP stud, but you still torque them up pretty good, pretty high. So according to your repair manual, there's a pattern. You start from the middle and work your way out in a circle. As you torque them to one setting, start from the middle again, torque them out and make a big circle again. Go into each bolt, and then you finish up with your final one. So according to your repair manual, your bolts will have a different value than the studs that I have. So consult your repair manual. Okay, very, very important. See this idler pulley down here? Put this on your head before you put the head back onto the engine. If not, you'll have to take your bolt out of your engine mount down here and jack the engine up a little bit so you can slide it onto the stud. I forgot to do that before I installed the head. So make sure you do that just so it's a little bit easier for you, so you don't have to try to get it onto this stud that's coming out of the head. So, but I did it wrong, so I jacked it. I had to take the bolt out, jack the engine up just a little bit, maybe about a ½ inch, so then I could slide it on, lower it back down, and put the bolt back in. So we got an idler pulley now on. So now the next thing to do is we'll take a look at putting this at top dead center. How I mentioned before, you got to have that tool on the end of it. So let me go grab the tool and I'll be right back. So here we are on the other side of the engine, the opposite side of the timing belt. So here's that groove I was talking about. And here's the tool. You see this? It has a little lip on it, and this should slide right inside of the cam. And now, that is now set where it's supposed to be. You may need to turn the pulley a little bit here and there to get that to fit down inside there. But you're not really, a lot of times you don't even need a special tool like this. I just bought a bunch, like a tool kit or whatever. So, what else can you use? The neat thing about it is you could take a file that's roughly 1/4 inch. You slide that into the groove. You see that? And it holds that in the right location. Or if you have a piece of 1/4 inch plate, you could take that and just put that in there to line it up straight. So, versatility of being able not to have special tools to work on this engine is very nice. So, we got that in there. This is now set to there. And you know the pump, we talked about that. We got that in place. I'm going to confirm that the pistons are in place. It's still top dead center. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run the belt around. Now that we got the nut loose a little bit, just a little bit hand loose or whatever, you just give it a little tap. There you go. See, now it's loose, but it's still onto the end of the cam, and you can see it spins, but it doesn't turn the cam. So we'll get the cam back straight again. There you go. Okay, so it was a bit of a pain in the butt. I had to tighten it back up again to get the tool back into the other side. Well, spin it and the cam doesn't move. So over there we got our tool back into that side with the card. One card kind of keeping it snug in there so it doesn't move. So let's go. So we have this loose now just so we can put our belt on and straighten it up and everything. So we got everything in location. Place. So let's go get the timing belt. Okay, so you take your belt here, timing belt, you run it around down to the bottom of your engine, down to the crank, and I'll show you that here in a second. Then you go up over this pulley down below. It's like an idler pulley down here. This comes up to your pump, then goes up over to your cam. We'll leave the cam on for last. Remember, loosen up your idler so it can hang free, so you can put your belt onto everything. Okay, got the belt up around the top, got the belt down to there, and I knocked the camera over again. Okay. We got that there in the top, and let's go down underneath. And I'll show you down where we're hitting onto the crank. There's the crank here. This is the idler pulley from up above. You take your belt, put it down around your crank. Hopefully. Yes, no, maybe so. We have the belt on. We have it tensioned here, and like it showed down underneath, it takes a little tricky or whatever. What I ended up doing is I took it off this top pulley here, and I put it on the bottom one, wrapped it around, made sure the bottom one and this one are snug with each other, with the teeth lined up, and then come up and put it on your idler, and then up here, and you can kind of slide it up on the belt on. So tension here, then you snug this down. You got that nice and tight. Well, actually, you leave this loose. You take your tensioner, and there's a little tool you can buy. It goes down inside of here. It helps you turn it, and you can snug it up. So what you want to do, this one's not spring-loaded on the early ones. The later ones are spring-loaded. It makes it a lot easier to get your tension right on the belt. So what you want here, and again, check your user's manual. Always follow that. But what you want is, you can see it's flat right now. So when you turn it, you're at a 45 degrees or almost further than a 45 degrees with the tension down here. You can see I'm turning it, and it's actually about half, a little bit further than 45 degrees of a turn. So you don't want it to be 90 degrees when you turn it, but you don't want it to be so tight you can't turn it. So you just do enough so you can get to a 45 to 60 degree angle of your belt here, and that should get you there. So you do that, so you have this, and before you start it or anything, go down to the bottom with your 19mm socket wrench and rotate this around 2 times the way that you would be running the engine. So what you're doing is you're stretching the belt a little bit, and you're checking to make sure your valve is right, make sure this is right, and everything. By rotating this by hand, you're just testing it and make sure nothing's hit, none of the pistons are hitting the valves. So when you're spinning this around with nothing, no injectors in, it should spin real nice and easy, and it should be smooth the whole way around. And you can see on the belt there's a writing on there, so if you watch this go past you twice down underneath, so you've gone 2 revolutions the whole way around. So if you do that smooth with no binding, then you got everything in line and everything is set up and you're good to go. And a final step, which is in the actual the repair manual, you're supposed to take a rubber mallet, this is crazy, and smack in between right here, not real hard, but just smack it enough here for the belt in between these 2 pulleys. And I don't know what that does. Guess it's supposed to shock it or something, or take any tension out of the belt or something. I don't know what it is, but it's actually in the Volkswagen manual. What you think is crazy, you come over here, this is the Volkswagen, the actual Volkswagen training manual, or actually a repair manual you would have in a garage at a Volkswagen dealership. So you can see it's twice as thick as your normal repair manual. So in here, buck tensioner, turn crank 2 complete turns and recheck for belt tension. Eliminate play in the drive belt by striking once between your camshaft and pump sprockets with a rubber mallet. So there it is. It even tells you right there in your manual to do something, right? Wacky is that. So anyways, back to it. So we got it done, the belt's on. I started putting the valve cover on, I got that on. And I started putting the cover on down there. I started putting the belt on here, the alternator belt, water pump, and your pulleys. And then I'm going to put the exhaust on next and everything, and then do the injectors. So that'll be the end of this video. I know it was a long video, but it might find something interesting from somebody that likes to work on the old Volkswagen Rabbit diesels or unleaded as well. They're all pretty much the same with the timing belt, except for the pump part or whatever. But so this is the end of the video. The rest of the stuff is just bolt-on things. You don't need to see any of that, so nothing really important there. So I might show you how to time your injector pump next. I'll do a video on that next. So anyways, it's the end of the video. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, stay awesome. You guys are awesome. Have an awesome time, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.